Hi, welcome to Oh, the People You Meet. My name is Stephanie Richardson, and I am so glad that you're a part of our podcast today. I started the podcast because I just meet people in the craziest places, whether it's Chick-fil-A or the grocery store or at college, at where I work. I meet some really cool people, and as I hear their story, I'm like, whoa, their story's so cool. And their stories inspire me. They inspire me, but they also help me feel closer to God, because I feel like because He's helped them, He is there for me too. And it makes me feel closer to Him. It makes me feel like He's present every day in all of our lives. And whatever I'm going through, it gives me courage that I can come through whatever I'm going through. And so today we have Eileen Edwards. I almost called you your maiden name. Hasn't been your maiden name for 20 years.
Yeah, that's
but
all right.
This is Eileen. And first, I always start the podcast with how we met.
That's a good one.
This is probably one of my favorite meet people stories, because we moved into Colin's dorm.
Fifth floor.
And we were moving in, and Eileen was next door to my room. And I was like super excited, super bubbly, and I was like, hey, do you want to go eat lunch?
But first, your room was next to mine, and your room was already put together better than our room. And so Jill and I kept running next door to see, where did you put that? What did you do? And then we go back to our room and try to replicate it.
Uh-huh.
So we got to know you. And then Jill was there with all her family, but I was all by myself. I moved myself into college. And so I think you said your family went home, and you said, hey, do you want to go buy books together? And I'm like, sure, let's go. So we went to the bookstore.
Yeah.
And as we're walking, we'd see people, and you'd wait. You'd be like, hey, hi. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. You know all it. How do you know all these people already? It's like we just moved in an hour ago. You're like, oh, I don't know them. I was like, you're just tracking them down. You don't. So that was my first.
Yes. And I knew you thought it was crazy, but you're from California.
Yeah.
And so you're not used to obnoxious Southern women.
No,
and
it's
so
very Southern.
It was I was just being friendly and making new friends, and you were looking at me like I had three heads.
But as we went through, so we lived together in college, we lived together after college, I really appreciated that I could just kind of be there, and you would take care of our entertainment. You would take care of getting us to know the right people and do the right thing. It was very relaxing to be your friend.
Well, I'm grateful that you overcame that, because
it was a bit overwhelming.
I'm sure it was super overwhelming. Yeah. But sometimes you have friends that bring.
It's a nice compliment, because I'm not quite as.
But then you've actually gotten. I remember when we went to New York a couple years ago. You and I went to New York, and you were like, "Hi," talking to all the people, and I was like, "What
You
happened?"
taught me well.
I was like, "That is crazy! You've changed so much." You're just talking to everybody, and I was like, "What the heck? What happened to you?" Okay, so let's go back to kind of how you grew up and where you grew up.
So I grew up in the Bay Area, suburb of San Francisco, and never had it on my radar.
I always heard you say, I remember going through Rush, and us going through Rush, and all I could hear you go, yes, I'm from San Francisco, just on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge, and Marin County, just on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge. I mean, I think you said that
1,000. Or it'd be like, I'm from Nevada, and they're like, Nevada? I'm like, no, San Francisco?
Just on the other side of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
I heard that.
Yeah, so I never had it on my radar to go to Texas. I really wanted to go, when I was probably a junior in high school, I wanted to go to UC Santa Barbara, somewhere cool.
Yes.
And then I became a Christian and decided I really probably want to go to a smaller school that, I could grow in my faith. So I looked around, and my parents and I could not agree on a school. And then my aunt, who's a guidance counselor, kind of out of the blue said, there's a school in Texas called Baylor. And it was like this light bulb. I'd had a friend who came only for one semester to high school. We swam together. We became really good friends. And all she talked about that semester she was there was she was going to go to Baylor. So it was I'd never heard of Baylor. And then she talked about it, and then she left. And then my aunt was like, Baylor. So my mom and I went to Dallas. We were there for an hour, and I was like, we drove down to Waco. We were at the campus for like an hour, and I was like, I guess I'll go here. And that was
I just always think that's so odd. I mean, like,
Yeah.
you're from California.
Yeah.
Like, one of the most beautiful
Great
parts
weather.
of... one of the most beautiful parts. You're like, I'm going to go to Waco, Texas.
And Waco's like cleaned up its act.
And Waco is not like
it
is
like,
now.
you know,
No.
25 years ago.
Oh, it was bad.
When,
I just
do you remember,
never
like,
could
if we were
figure
like
that out.
juniors and they got an Applebee's and it was like a 4-hour wait to get a table at the Applebee's? That was big news.
I mean, I never quite understood that. I
Yeah.
mean, it
But
really
I
had
think
to be the
that's
Lord.
God, like, softened my heart to it because I had a great time when I was there. And maybe Chip and Jo have made it cool, and maybe I'd live there if I got to live in one of their houses. But other than that, probably
Yeah. I mean,
God
it's
just softened my heart.
He did for that season.
For that season.
Yeah.
So.
And so you ended up Baylor.
Yeah.
You are at Baylor. You meet your crazy next door neighbor, and we become best friends.
Mm-hmm.
And so then after college, you graduate early.
Yes.
And so
why we're not sure, but I was like in this hurry to graduate, so I get out before everyone else. So I have no friends. I just told someone the story today. So I got a U-Haul and moved myself from the center apartments in Waco to the Village in Dallas.
Yes, which was like the place to live in Dallas.
Like if you have lived in Dallas as a single person, you probably lived in one of the 14 Village apartments.
Yes.
Complexes.
It was the
so
cool place.
I pull up in my U-Haul. Oh, and I rented like the tiny U-Haul, and I got there and they were out of tiny U-Hauls, and they gave me like a giant U-Haul.
You drove it by yourself?
Yeah, I-35. I drove my U-Haul. So then I
No
get
cell phone.
no direct, like I mean nothing. You just made it. It just happened. So I get to my new apartment and I now have to unload the U-Haul by myself. No, there wasn't that. I mean, I didn't have that much.
Did you have a bed?
I did have a bed, and these random.
Did you have a couch?
I think no, I hadn't bought a couch yet because in college we always had them from our like they were furnished or whatever. But I did have a bed, so I go to start unloading stuff, and these random people stop and are like, "Do you want some help?" Like, I was like, "If you want to," so they helped me like get the bed out and everything, and I moved myself in. Yeah, and then I had to wait because then you graduated like 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
later.
So then I was like, "Hey, can I be your roommate?"
I was like, "Yes, friends."
And so, but your lease wasn't up.
Yeah.
And so you were in a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
And we had 2 queen beds in 1 bedroom. Mm-hmm. And so we barely even had enough room to like walk in between the beds.
And 1 bathroom, 1 sink. Like it was not, and it was not like a nice, glamorous apartment. It was pretty shabby.
And I would say our relationship is very much like Odd Couple.
Oh, but I think it's makes it work. Like,
So Odd Couple.
like we help each other out. And I think it was your mom that had said, like, if you have an issue, you need to deal with your issue. Don't expect the other person to have the same. Like, if I want things really clean, then that's on me. Then I need to clean it.
Right.
I can't expect you to keep it clean. And if you want someone to be really social and I don't want to be social, that's on you. You got to take yourself to that party.
And then also, like, my mom, she's such good wisdom. Yeah. She always said, Stephanie, you can be messy and you can have your room, whatever, but the common areas, if you want to be a good roommate, the common areas need to be clean. Your crap does not need to be in the common areas. That's not a good roommate. So I try to teach Jake that now. I'm like, when you're a roommate,
I'm kind of worried about Kate, like her room right now. I tell her, I said,
but my room was a mess.
I said, you're going to go to college and your roommate is going to be so mad at you. They're going to move out. You're going to come home at semester and say, I got kicked out of my dorm. I'm a little worried for her. She's 13. We have a few more years, but it's not looking good.
Well, my room was like that my whole life. It's still like that today. You just saw.
I just saw it. It's a little bit bad.
So it's fine. It's fine.
If I had more time, we'd clean it up.
I'm so grateful Jeffrey he overlooks that.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, that's some good love.
He's got some rubies in his crown for living with me, probably lots of them. So anyway, so we were in that apartment for a little bit.
Because I had at the Village they did 7 monthly, like it was weird leases.
It wasn't very long. We lived there.
No, because you graduated in May, and I think so. I had to go probably to the end of July.
Yeah,
and then we moved outside the Loop.
Which was a big deal.
It was, which is hilarious considering where you moved.
Now I live
today.
And where I live in the country,
as I was driving.
I know.
And it was 10 more miles to
Blaine Jeffrey.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of great qualities. He also likes living in the suburbs.
So there you go. It's lovely. It's a lovely home.
Those are lovely. We give and take a little bit.
But yeah, so we moved to Addison and we got our own bedrooms, which was
a big deal.
It was good.
But
and
we
we got
were
a washer and dryer in our apartment. That was a big deal too.
And we were in like everyone else was in this other apartment complex.
Saxony.
Yeah, and they were, or the Dorchester. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Wow, I
they were
hadn't
like
thought of that.
around us. They were like these really
Cool.
nice apartments, and we were in like
Montfort Oaks.
We were on Montfort Oaks, and
and
it was not nice.
It was in the right part of town, but
it
it
probably
wasn't
wasn't even safe. I mean, I don't even know.
It had a gate.
Yeah, I don't know. So we lived there for a couple years, and a really great story that people I'm sure will bless them is the fact that we would share clothes. And
This is actually kind of my favorite memory of you. I tell people all the time, like, we were not wealthy.
No,
Not
I was making
in
$20,000 a year.
Like, I think you made like
23.
22.
Yeah.
My first year take home pay was $20,100.
Oh yeah.
And that was back when you had to wear pantyhose. So like I would have to allocate money for my paycheck.
And those are like $5, right?
Oh, it was like a legit category of my spending was I would have because they wouldn't last very long.
I owed $7,000 in my credit card debt after that first year of our first year.
It was bad because we were like super poor, but we wanted to. We were in this great city and we
Yeah,
had so many
do
opportunities,
fun things.
and we wanted to look nice while we did it. So we would go to very expensive places like Target, and we would like something and we'd say, "Well, I'll pay half if you pay half,"
and we would share it.
And it worked perfect.
And then the deal was,
yeah,
whoever got married first lost their rights to the clothes.
yeah, the person who didn't get married got all the stuff, which was me.
So yeah, so
I got all the stuff.
You got all the stuff,
and you got married,
and I
moved
got
to
married.
the suburbs.
And moved to the suburbs, and it's like I keep moving further and further. And
we
further.
thought that was far. That was
that was so far.
It was like
and
40 miles down the road.
Yeah, that was nothing compared to where I live now. Yeah. And so I got married, and you were still in Dallas and
Single. Everyone was starting to get married. Cammie was married. You got married.
Yeah. So, but you were going to BSF.
Yes.
Bible Study Fellowship, for those who don't know. And it's a really great Bible study. And they had a singles one at Park Cities Baptist.
So I had other single friends, but my core group that I'd been with were all getting married.
And having babies and stuff.
I know, that happened really quick for a lot of people too.
Well, we didn't really mean for that to happen so quick for some of us, but it did.
It did.
Hey, yeah, married 9 months. Oh, we're pregnant. All right.
But look now, they're about to be off the payroll.
About to be off the payroll, yes. So that's really nice. So you went to BSF.
Yes.
And you met a dude.
Yes. So I was doing BSF and I was having I was kind of coming to terms with everyone's getting married, and when it's right, it'll happen for me. And I think at some kind of party, some kind of BSF social thing. Like they had like a hoedown out in I don't know where.
We were all, well, let's back up because we were always the big dancers, and everyone in the singles
which
group,
is hilarious because I'm the worst dancer.
So they always wanted to two-step with us because we were the ones that liked to two-step. So I'm sure everyone was excited you were at the hoedown.
I'm sure it was the top. At all. So at this, I met some guy and figured out what group he was in. And then I asked my BSF leader, hey, how about we have a little fellowship with that guy's group, which is like a little social. And so she organizes it. And so this guy that I thought was kind of cute at this hoedown comes to the social and we're chit-chatting. And then lo and behold, another person walks in the room who I'm like, he's kind of cute too. And he was the owner of the house that the social was at, but he had to work late, and so the party started without him in his own house. And so at the end of the social, I kind of thought, the guy I thought that was cute really isn't my jam. Like, I've talked to him now, and it's not really my jam. But this other guy's kind of cute. So at the end of the night, I thought, well, maybe I'll stay and clean up, and we'll chat. So I'm going in the kitchen, like, helping clear stuff, and, like, 10 girls are like, I'll stay and clean up. I'll stay. I was like, I'm going to go home. So I left. I went home, and then I saw him at BSF the next week, I think, and he said, hey, do you want to have lunch? And I was like, yes, please. So we met for lunch, and we had, like, a 2-hour, maybe even longer, like a long lunch. And at the end of lunch, I'm thinking, this is going really well. So I think I'm going to give him the hint that we should go on a real date. Like, lunch, let's go on a real date. So we're, like, out at my car, and I'm like, oh, this is really nice. Thanks. Maybe we could do it, on a weekend sometime. And he's like, we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. I was like, oh, gosh. I thought that was...
We'll see. It's like when Will says we'll see, it means it's not happening.
Now I know we'll put my best man on it. Like, there's no best man. That's not happening. So I was like, okay. Like, I was, like, up here, and then I'm like, so I go back to the office. I worked in this tiny little office, and they all knew I had this lunch date. And they're like, how was it? You were gone so long. It must have been great. I was like, it was so great. Except at the end, he said, we'll see. And the owner of the company was like, yeah, he's not calling. Dang it. I really thought it was good. But then I saw him at BSF the next week. And again, another miscommunication. He's like, I need to talk to you. And I was like, am I in trouble? Are you breaking up with me? We're not even dating. Like, you don't have to break up with me. So I was like, okay. So then he was like, I think there's an age difference. And before I ask you out again, I just want to make sure that you're okay. And I was like, oh, okay. So I'm 24. How old are you? I'm 37. I was like, oh my God. Like, when you're 20, no wonder you have a house. No wonder you seem together. You're old.
And I'm 24. And
Yeah.
I'm still borrowing clothes from my roommate.
Yeah. Well, I'd had the inheritance at that point.
Yeah, you had all the clothes,
So,
yeah.
Yeah. So I said, well, let's, I really thought he was kind of gets me out. So I said, well, let's just see what happens. We'll just figure it out.
Yeah.
So then we dated 6 more months. Then he broke up with me.
Oh.
And my heart was very sad. But I will say I was in my BSF study, and I really was at a good place with the Lord, that even though I was super, super sad, I had confidence that God would take care. I was like, if he's not the one, my one is going to be so great, because I think he was pretty awesome. So if you're saying no, then it'll be even better. And so then he came back. I saw him that he broke up with me right after Labor Day. It's all like cemented in the brain. A girl never forgets. And I saw him at a Christmas party in like mid-December, and he was like kind of stalking me at the party. I was like, this is awkward. This is before social media, so you couldn't see, like, it was really the first time we'd seen each other. Like,
oh, wow.
And we had a very brief conversation, and then he left the party. He's like, I'm gonna go. I was like, okay. He's like, can I call you next week? I was like, okay. So then he called me and said, I made a terrible mistake. I want to get back together. And I had wise counsel.
He did make a terrible mistake.
Hello.
Duh.
But I had wise counsel before he came over. I thought he was going to ask if he could date a friend of mine. I don't know why I thought that, but I thought, and he always says, why would I ask your permission? Anyway, the person said, you should ask him what's changed, because
you're still the same person.
Yeah. And so I did. And so we had a good conversation about that. So we got back together in about right before Christmas, like probably, like a week before Christmas. And we got engaged on April 30th. So that kind of moved.
So
the first
fast.
time we dated, the Valentine's Day to Labor Day, we went on a date 2 dates every single weekend, but we never talked about where it was going. Like, we never had the DTR.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was always like, kind of, and his parents lived in town. They never introduced me to them, and I thought that was kind of weird. So I've been praying that God would move his heart. But then when he broke up with me, I'm like, I didn't mean move it that way. But the second time when he came back, he was everything. I loved everything about him, except that he didn't seem very willing to commit. And so when he came back, he was everything I'd loved before, plus he was ready to get married.
Move on.
So we did. We got married. And
so y'all got married.
Yeah.
And you started trying to have kids.
Well, I think one of our crazy stories is we get married, we go to Hawaii for a week, come back, go to work on Monday, and he calls me and he's like, while we were in Hawaii, my job moved to Houston.
No.
Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I'm from San Francisco. Like, I can't, like, what? No, I'm not moving.
And I'm not moving from my best friend.
Yes. I'm like, all my people are in Dallas. No. And he's like, I don't really want to go either. He didn't have to actually move for a year, but he told his boss, I'm not going to go. I'll find another job. So for the next 9, we got married in October. For like the next 9, well, really 10 months, we just were under this, in January, he's going to get a new job. We're going to, get a package and he'll find a new job. He'd been with Mobil, which became ExxonMobil, for 15 years at that point. Is that right? Maybe 10 years. I guess it was 10 years. So then about September, he went on a business trip to Virginia, and I was at home. And at the same time, we both kind of thought, we didn't even go look at Houston. And he came home and I said, and he's like, that's so weird. I just had that same thought too. We didn't even go look. So we came down to Houston, pouring rain right after Hurricane Allison.
Oh, awesome.
Same
best time to go to Houston.
Yeah, same experience as Baylor, where I was like, I think I'll move. Like, there was nothing phenomenal that happened. We just looked at each other on the flight home, and I was like, you want to move? He was like, yeah. So we moved to Houston.
And your parents had moved to
from
Flower Mound, like from California to be close to you. And then you're like, oh, by the way, now I am moving I'm now moving.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to bring up another story because I just brought up your parents. Your parents moved to Texas from California. And it was probably after your wreck that they moved.
Yes, because they thought I was going to come home and work like stay in California forever. I was like, I have an apartment in Dallas with a really fun roommate.
Yeah.
I got to go.
So, and when Eileen and I were roommates, you were T-boned.
Yes.
In a really bad accident. And I think about that all the time because we were so young and like naive and like, so you were T-boned and they called me at the office and said, ma'am, your roommate is in the OR. What does OR mean?
Yeah.
I'm 24.
And how did they have your number? I guess because you would call, we didn't have direct lines, so we would just call the office all the time.
I don't know.
I still say, hold please.
They're like,
hold please.
They're like, what is, and I'm like, what does OR mean? Like operating room. I'm like, oh, that's bad, right? And so one of my friends took us to the hospital, and we didn't know if you were going to make it, and you had a collapsed lung, and you had a bruise on your brain, and your pelvic bone broke.
Which I just hurt my back. A long time later, I'm still suffering from your back.
But pelvic bone, collapsed lung, bruise on your brain, ribs, cracked ribs, like all the things. And you were in the hospital for 28 days? Something like that. It was a while. And I mean, that was so crazy. I mean,
and I remember when I got out, like I couldn't do anything. First of all, I was not awake for a lot of it. And then when I was awake, like my eyebrows were like caterpillars. Hadn't had my hair cut. Like I couldn't take a real shower. And so Stephanie took me to get a haircut at North Park Mall. This is back when Lord & Taylor was where kind of Nordstrom is now. It was like totally different setup. And I had my walker.
Yes.
And we went to Tony and Guy on the second floor right by Lord & Taylor to get my hair done. And people were like staring at it because you don't see like a 21-year-old with a walker very often.
I just can't believe, and I can't believe, like you were at Parkland, which is, there's like a trauma hospital. Like I would just walk through the ER like it was nothing.
Yeah, totally safe.
I mean, it was crazy. So, I mean, that's kind of, so your parents moved to be closer to you, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, by the way, I'm moving to Houston now. And so you move to Houston, you start, you're kind of getting settled, you decide to kind of start trying to have babies.
Yeah, we didn't right away. We definitely took our time. But then we decided we're going to do this, and then you think it's just going to happen like the next month. And so it didn't happen the next month, and then it didn't happen the next year. It just kind of went on and on. Like I felt like we could never quite figure out what was going on. And once we figured out what was going on, it was very quick but it was, I remember having a conversation with you. You already had 2 kids, taught into school by now, like things where everyone else's life was moving on. And I remember this feeling of like I was on a train platform and everyone else was on the train, and they were just kind of going past me, and it was like a very like kind of empty, scary feeling. Even though I knew if it was meant to be, it would happen. I still wanted it. Like if it wasn't meant to be, I still wanted it to happen.
Yeah, it didn't take away that desire.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I remember that feeling of everyone else is like living this life that I want to live, but I'm not. But then it did. And God always gives you like abundantly more than you can ask or desire. And I had twins.
You had twins.
Which I truly have not had until 7th grade. Have not ever been upset. Like I loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
Like
till middle school.
Great
middle school is almost
over.
And
it wasn't even middle. It just was. Yeah. But we're good now. I'm back on twins is the way to go.
Twins is the way to go. Well, I mean, it's it's so funny because God's like, oh no, I'm gonna doubly bless you.
You've waited this long. Here's 2.
Yeah, here's 2
extra.
We were talking about that too. That like you were able, not only that, but then you were able to carry those babies till 35 weeks, which is really hard when you have twins.
My ankles were not so weak.
They were very swollen.
Quite large.
And so you had those babies, and that wasn't even easy because you'd had all the scar tissue and stuff from your accident. Yes. You lost a lot of blood, and I remember I was here.
Like you were like worried when you were like, "Are you going to be okay to have the babies?"
Because after you had the babies, the call to me was, she's lost a lot of blood. We're not really sure what's going on.
I actually
She's
had
losing-
pre-eclampsia, but nobody knew because I have low blood pressure, and the diagnosis of pre-eclampsia is high blood pressure. So I started with low, and then I just went to normal. So nobody knew that. So then when I had the babies, they were like, oh, this is really bad.
Yeah, and so I'm like freaking out because I mean I've been with you through
It was like
your
PTSD
accident.
for
It
you.
was. It was like I was like I didn't lose her then. I'm not gonna lose her now. Like it was so traumatic, and I was like, it's Jay's fault for getting her pregnant.
I remember you were like, I'm like,
I was so mad
I don't know
at
about
him.
that.
I was like, he got her pregnant, and that's why, and now she's dangerous, and she's in a dangerous situation.
But it
worked out, and you had those two beautiful girls, and navigating through middle school. So good for you.
Yeah, 8th
You
grade.
also make me really grateful I have boys. Yeah, all the things
It's
that
a
you
lot.
worry about.
It's
I'm
a
like,
lot.
like
It's
what were
a
you
lot.
worrying about the other day? College, ACT
Everything. Yes, it was ACT.
You're
Well,
like,
it was
now what PSAT?
because we got the PSAT.
I know, and you're like, what score? I'm like, they are in 8th grade. I know, but what score do they need to have? I'm like, you are
Well,
in 8th
I don't.
grade. They
I
would
need
change the whole
options.
system by then. You don't
need
even know.
options besides 2 kids going to Baylor. I need other options. Like,
Why you're saving for
Daddy
Baylor?
Warbucks
It's
here.
fine.
I don't know.
It's fine. You can save for Baylor. So, I'm going to ask you, tell me about how you've, the girls were little and you kind of were able to kind of work from home.
Yeah,
and how
it's such a blessing.
how you
So
did
when
that.
I had the girls, I quit. I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't do. I think I knew all along the time I was pregnant. I had planned to quit after I had the girls, and so I called my boss and said, hey, I'm not coming back. Sorry. And I had a really, really good boss who was like, well, I can appreciate, I understand, but why don't you just keep your laptop? Maybe we'll have a project. Maybe you could just work, once in a while, whenever you wanted. I was like, I really only said yes because I wanted to get off the phone. Like, I didn't really think I would do it. But I was like, okay, gotta go, bye. And he waited like about 6 months. And then he called me and he said, hey, bill us out. Just tell us how many hours it takes, but here's a project for you to do. And so I would, when they were taking a nap, I would do that. And then I would get like a little money. And I was like, oh, I kind of like a little extra, I can go do some fun things. So I started like working, some weeks it'd be 5 hours, some weeks it'd be 10, some weeks it'd be 0. I just kind of kept doing that. And then the girls, when they were like 3, they went to preschool. And so they were gone for a chunk of the day, 2 or 3 days a week. And so I would, during that chunk of the day, rather than going to Target and spending a lot of money, I would go back home and I would just work. And so the blessing is I kept up with, it was a software company, and I kept up with the technology. And so when they were going to kindergarten, I was like, what should I do now? Like, they're going to be gone. This has been all I could do is, keep them alive. And now I have all this free time. What am I going to do? So Jay really wanted me. He's like, I think you should take a couple years off and just breathe. But it's not really my personality. So I called my boss and said, well, I think I want to come back. And so they said, great. Yeah, okay. You already have your laptop. So I went back full time. But I will say it was not a difficult job. Because I'd kept up with it. It wasn't stressful. I didn't think about it when I was laying my head down at night. I really just worked from when they, went to school in the morning to when they got off. And that was kind of all. And so that was perfect until they were in about 5th grade. And then I was kind of itching for a change. I was like, oh, I've done this a really long time. And the company had changed. They'd gotten bought. And the culture wasn't my thing. So I started considering other things. And I ended up getting an offer from a really great company. They're always on, the Forbes Best Places to Work. But with working for a really great company comes a lot of responsibility.
Right.
It was, I had an interview. I had 11 interviews or something ridiculous. But I get the job. So, Well, at first I didn't. Actually, so I interviewed. I had this, it was, I think, my 9th interview. I had flown to Florida to the headquarters, and I called Jay, and I was like, if I don't get it, it's not meant to be. I had the best interview I've ever had. It went so well. We go home. We go to Pine Cove. And I'm waiting to hear, and I finally get a call, and I'm standing outside my cabin at Pine Cove, and they're like, we're going to hire someone else. I'm like, but we really like you, and we're going to hire you with our next headcount. I'm like, yeah, whatever. But they did. They hired, that was July, they hired me in October. So, and actually, God always knows best. The position that I first interviewed for had a lot of clients that were outside of Houston. They were in Arkansas, they were in Oklahoma, a lot of places I would have had to do more travel than I really wanted to do with twins that were in 5th grade. So God always knows best. But I ended up getting the job and it was with clients that are mostly in Houston. So I had been working there for a while. It is a lot more stressful than my other job. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's challenging, which I really appreciate and like that about it.
Right.
But I have to be very dependent on God because it's like a lot of things that I can't do on my own. I'm like, oh, dear Jesus, please help me today.
And it also helps that Jay retired.
Yes. So I had the job about a year and a half, and I was kind of like at a crossroads of this job is so much. I don't know that I can do it well.
And you're a very present mom. Like, you want to be at all the things
I was
with the
like,
kids.
well, when I got hired, I was like the rooting mom. I'm like, oh boy. So, so I wanted to do all the things I normally did. Plus, I wanted to be good at a job I'd never done. You know, it was a new company, new job, new software. It was a lot. And so I was talking with Jay. I think I was in the job. I thought, I'll give it a year and then I'll be easy. Well, after a year, I was like, oh, it's still not that easy. What am I going to do?
Right.
So I had a conversation with Jay about, I don't know, I really like my job, but I'm having trouble balancing everything. And he was like, and he is always, I will give him credit. He never was like, you cook the dinner, you do. Like, he was like, how can I help? What can I do? You know, he was really encouraging and helpful. But even with all that, it still was a lot. Right. So he at that time had been with ExxonMobil 32 years. And he's like, hey, how about I retire and do all the things that you do, the doctor appointments, the dentist, the orthodontist, the vision, all those things that take a mom away. And so he was happy to retire. I was happy to have the help. And that has been our setup for 2 years now.
Oh my goodness.
2.5, actually.
2.5 years. Mm-hmm. So now you're able to kind of balance a little bit better. Because I think it's wise. I think a lot of parents stay in that chaos. You know, and the stress.
It's a lot. And I'm so blessed that Jay had already had a long career and we had the ability for him to retire. I know not everyone has that. And he had the desire. Like, he didn't want to retire and play golf all the time, although that he does do that a lot. He wanted to spend time with the girls. Like, he loves, in fact, I think he overdid it. Like, he's like, do you want an egg or a waffle? I'm like, oh my gosh, they can make their own breakfast. They're 13. But he's really excited about that because he hasn't done it. He didn't do it the first,
first
11 years or so.
Yeah.
So he does all that for me so that I can be, do my job well.
So for those girls that feel like the train is leaving and that they are not on that train and they're on that platform, like, what kind of encouragement would you...
Yeah, I would say to have faith that God will never leave you behind. Like, that's not the train you're supposed to be on. Like, there will be another train that comes in. He never... Like, his timing is so much better than ours. And I think of all the years that we wanted to have children and didn't, we wouldn't have had Kate and Mary. Like, we wouldn't have. And... Like, if I'd gotten married, like when everyone else was getting married and I was feeling like, oh, this is never going to happen for me. What if I'd married one of those guys? Like, that's not who I was meant to be with. I was meant to be with Jay. And so to have faith that God will provide. Like, and, that's not a natural. I think I have to, like, be in the Word and be reminded that God will give me abundantly more than I can ever ask or imagine. And so if I'm asking, I'm not receiving, it's like he's just making the basket bigger.
Right. So that gives me chills. Yeah, because I think about all those things and those hardships and the wreck and the, and then, not being married and then all these things, but then how, like, God has just been there through all of that. Like, he's taking care of you in those disappointments, in those, like, this is not my timetable. Yeah. This is, and that's frustrating, but he's taking care of you so well.
Yeah, and it's not like all the time I feel like totally at peace with it during all of that. I mean, there were definitely moments where I was like, come on, God, hurry up. But I think the overriding thing is I had enough Bible in me to be reminded, like, Eileen, has he ever failed you? Has he ever not taken care of you? He's always done that. And so that reassurance, like, get back in the Word and just trust and just believe it. And surround yourself. Like, I think I had a really good network at BSF of people that were also single. Yeah. I had my married friends out in the burbs and all that. But I still had single people that wanted to do something on a Friday night, and we're in there. We're reading their Bibles and encouraging me. So
That's awesome. Okay, so I asked everyone a couple questions. So, what is something fun you're loving these days? Something that you're into?
Podcasts.
I'm not lying. Really?
Yeah. Well, I do Audible because I'm in the car for my job a lot. I go see clients. And so I get one Audible subscription a month. And you can buy, one book a month. But you can buy more. But I'm like, always feel a little guilty. Like, just right now, today's like the 31st. I don't get my next credit till the 6th. So I'm like, if I just wait 6 days, I'll get a book.
Right.
So that filler time is when I started like discovering free podcasts. So and there's like so many good ones out there. I kind of like the series ones where they like Dr. Death.
Okay.
It's about the Dallas neurosurgeon.
Okay.
It's Scaryville. It's true.
Okay.
It's true. Like,
yeah.
And then there's some like Choiceology is a Schwab does this one. It's just about all these different topics. Yesterday on the plane, I downloaded a couple that were fantastic failures, and it's about things like business things that were planned for and went awry, and kind of what went wrong.
Right.
And it just gives me good conversation with my clients, and it's just kind of interesting. Yeah. So, and of course your podcast.
Of course, my podcast.
It's like at the top of my list.
I know it better be like number one. Subscribe. Yeah. That's so cool. And so what book was that? What was the last book you read? Or listened to, I guess.
Yes. Let me think about what was the title. It's for my book club. Oh, I don't usually do John Grisham, but it was John Grisham, The Guardians.
Okay. And what other books have you enjoyed? What other book have you
enjoyed? Well, I really, really like memoirs or like Bad Blood is, I don't know if it's true. It's like investigative journalism. It was about Theranos and Elizabeth Holmes. It's this whole Silicon Valley thing. That's a really good Bad Blood. But even better than that was Educated.
Okay.
The book about the girl who was raised in a survivalist Mormon family and never went to school, didn't have a birth certificate. Huh. And she ends up graduating from like, I don't know, Harvard. It's an amazing story. So those are kind of my favorite books, but I mix it up. I do a workbook. I did, there was a Simon Sinek book that I just did that.
Start with why?
It was something with an I. Oh, I can't think of it.
Maybe I'll think about it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what is your favorite parenting advice?
I need parenting advice.
You have
what do you have for me? For me. Gosh, I don't know. I think being the parent is probably good parenting advice. Like
be the parent.
Like, it's so tempting to just go. It's easy to let them make decisions that you can see down the road further than they can, but it's just less conflict to just let it go and to say, I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to say no. I'm going to step in and stop it. Like TikTok. Like, it's easy to say yes, but bad things may not happen to my kid, but there's a chance they could, so I have to be the worst mother in the world and say no to
right
TikTok.
Now, you're the worst mother.
The worst. 20-minute Instagram time.
They have a
they
timer.
get 20 minutes.
20 minutes of Instagram.
And no TikTok and no Snapchat.
So you're the worst parent.
So yeah, we saw a mug somewhere that said "worst mother in the world" or something. I'm like, girls, did you want to buy that for me? But I think I have really enjoyed being their mom, and I think we have a pretty good thing going, but they do wish that they could have TikTok and Snapchat.
What's your biggest parenting do-over you wish you had?
Letting them have a tablet or smartphone early. Like, we got a gift of an iPad when they were like 3 or 4. And it was so fun. There's all these cool educational games. Right. But it just introduces all of that earlier. Yeah. So that's all they've ever known. Yeah. They've had every iPad, iPod, and then phone. Like, they're on like their 4th phone and they're 13. I mean, it's stupid. So I wish that I could have said, I would have stood up and been more like, we're not doing it. Everyone else is doing that, but we're not.
Okay. And then what's your favorite beverage? It can be adult or otherwise.
Well, iced tea is my jam. I'm trying to quit Coke.
I know.
Not the kind up your nose. Never done that. The kind you drink.
I may have some Coke Zero that I'm taking to the lake.
I haven't had anything carbonated in like 4 weeks, 5 weeks.
Since the last time
Probably
you were with me and I was bad input.
I love sugar, and to drink it is so awesome.
You do love sugar. You love any kind of candy, sugar.
I love it. So Coke is like my favorite, but I try not to drink it. So I substitute with iced tea. And you know what I'm into lately? It's Crystal Light lemonade.
Like you pour it in the
thing? Well, we make the big container because I drink so much of it. It's got 2 carbs, and it's kind of hits that.
Stevia in it.
It kind of hits my sweet tooth.
Yeah.
Thing.
I've decided I have this really scientific, not really scientific. It's not scientific at all, but like it's Stephanie thought of thing that I think people that are skinny like sweets. They like candy, like not chocolate necessarily, but like sweet, like candy, like
I don't know.
Twizzlers and like those kind of things. They like those, or they like. They like sweets, not necessarily desserts, but sweets.
Well, they say that the carbs that you eat, like sugar is definitely carb, but all the other things that people don't realize, is kind of hard on your body.
Candy. Like it's just not a thing.
Can I go back and make that my parenting fail? Is my kids expect dessert?
Well, y'all are their parents. Y'all love dessert, but y'all are both about this big. Y'all are both so tiny, skinny.
We're getting older, so we're moving up on the finger
Whatever,
size.
it's not really that much. Okay, so what's your favorite travel destination?
The Pedregal in Cabo, where we went for your 40th birthday. That is still. In fact, I looked it up the other day because we're planning our 20th anniversary. And I was kind of chickening out on a trip to London because I just think we don't have enough time to do it. So I'm like, let's just go to Cabo. It's like thousands and thousands of. I was like, never mind, we'll just go to London. It's the same amount of money. I felt bad spending that much money to go to Cabo for 4 days.
Oh, it's so worth it. So worth it. Favorite healthy snack or meal that you're kind of into right now?
I don't know what they're called. They're at Trader Joe's, and they're
cookie butter. That's not healthy.
No, that's not. I know.
You thought it was healthy. No, it is not. Eileen.
That is not
from
healthy.
your Beachbody coach.
These have pistachios and craisins, and they're like little square, and they're individual things. So it's like a sweet. Definitely has carbs. I think it's like 7 carbs. But it's got lots of fiber and it's healthy. Like it's a good sweet. Right. It's a good. It's got the protein and the pistachio. I don't know what they're called. They're in like a purple bag, and there's probably like 7 or 8 in the bag, and they're squares.
I think it's so interesting because you developed healthier habits probably because Dorman, your stepdad, who raised you, he was healthy before healthy was healthy.
Yeah,
he knew about superfoods before anyone did, before.
And he lived to be like 87 years old, so it served him well. Served him well. Yeah, he was eating blueberries before anyone knew about superfoods. He ate granola before granola was cool. Yeah, I grew up. This is back to Baylor, so I grew up. I never had soda. We never had Honey Nut Cheerios was as sweet as we got in our house. Like we didn't have cookie. We didn't have anything. Like nothing.
It's probably what my kids are gonna say.
Yeah.
When they're in therapy, in the therapy jar.
I get to Baylor and I go into the Collins cafeteria, which isn't even a cafeteria now. That's so weird.
I think it is. There is one. Is it Collins have a cafeteria? Yeah, it still is.
Oh, I thought when we went, it was closed.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, the important part of my story is there was a wall of soda. Like there was like every kind. Like there was like 4 Dr. Pepper.
Oh.
It was like I was like.
You're in heaven.
Yeah. So I would go through the line and I would get French fries. And then I would get French bread pizza. And then I would get a Coke. And then they had the Bluebell cooler thing with all the Bluebell treats.
Did you gain weight your freshman year?
Yes.
But I remember us getting baked potatoes and going and we had fat-free cheese because that was fat-free days.
Everything was fat-free.
Really
and we all were like, why aren't we losing weight?
And
I
so
don't know.
Fat-free cheese, American cheese.
It was horrible.
And that we had, and we would take them down and have baked potato.
Yeah. And I remember eating with Jill in the morning because I loved 8 o'clock classes, and she had 8. So we would go down.
You loved 8 o'clock classes.
Not only did we have 8 o'clock classes, but we had a full breakfast before the 8 o'clock.
You did?
I had the 3 meal plan, and I ate them all every day.
Okay.
So we would go downstairs in Collins, and we would get a giant bowl of grape nuts, and then put raisins on top of the grape nuts. A lot of fiber. A lot of fiber in that diet. Yeah. So, yeah, we made weird choices.
Yeah.
That is good. Okay, that is good parenting advice. I don't really do this, but you should make sure your kids know how to eat. because when they go to college,
Yeah.
like.
But Dorman, like, he probably didn't give you enough choices.
No, I couldn't really go into the kitchen and do what I want. Like, it was like.
Learn how to cook.
What are you doing in here?
Yeah.
We're going to take care of that. And there wasn't things I wanted to eat. So I just didn't.
We're doing that. Jake is actually learning to cook a little bit. And
yeah.
He's having a part and say in that right now. And that's hopefully that's going to help him.
I'm sure.
When he goes to college. I was so worried about Will, and like, especially this year, because he just doesn't care about food. Yeah. I don't know whose child he is. He's Jeffrey's child. Because Jake's my child because we love food. And so, I was like, he's never going to eat because he didn't even know how to make himself something, because he's just the type of person like.
Is he one of those that he forgets?
Yes, forgets to do it. Like, I don't even get that forget to eat. And so I was like, he's going to forget to eat a lot. And thankfully, he was like, Mom, how do I make this? And how do I make this? And I'm drinking my shake every day. And I was like, I didn't even tell him to. Like, you already set the example. I said it with him, just kind of like on the side, just hoping that he would drink his shake. But I didn't like really make it a big deal. And he's like, how do you do this? And how? So he's eating and he's learning to meal prep. And sometimes just like that example, but I do love that kind of involving them. Because if you don't involve them, they don't know.
Yeah.
Right? That's true. Okay. And your favorite workout, which I know is bar.
Yes, I do like bar, although I did hurt my back a little bit last Monday.
Yeah.
I like it because I'm not coordinated to do cardio. Which is how I hurt my back. I accidentally showed up to a cardio class. I'm like, it's the cardio. It's not bar. Yeah. All right, I'm already here.
It was a cardio class. You hurt yourself. Okay.
Yes. And
not your normal bar.
No, it's like it was in Power. Okay. So, which Ann read. We haven't talked about that. Oh. Yeah.
She works there.
Yeah. So blast from the past. So I like it because one, they have a 7 a.m. class. And my schedule is crazy busy. Yeah. And so I can go from 7. It's a 50-minute class. I can go from 7 to 7:50, and I can be back at my desk at 8:05. My kids leave the house at about 6:15. So it's like I get them off, I change, I get to class.
Your kids leave the house at 6:15 in the morning?
Yeah, they have morning practice.
It's very early.
It's ridiculous. In fact, Mary wore a Fitbit last night, and her sleep was 5 hours and 19 minutes. So you can pray for me. We gotta change that. It's not good. So anyway, so I like that workout. I like a bar class because I think it lets you really target and focus on a muscle. Yeah. Without getting distracted by like being sweaty and
I just started. We have a new bar program.
I know. I can't wait to do it tomorrow.
I know we're gonna do it tomorrow, and it's so fun. And I love the fact that I can do it, at home. But then I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like just these little tiny moves. Yeah. Can, like my body is just shaking.
And they say the change is in the shake. So you're like looking for the shake, and then you want to stay in the shake as long as you can.
Okay. Yeah, I made Macy do it.
Look for the
today bar. So
it's hard.
Yeah,
it's super
hard.
And I think some people say you have to do it a couple times to see. I really had to. Maybe I just don't push myself hard enough. I really had to do it about 2 months before I saw. Like, I was increasing my endurance in it. Yeah. And I was starting to see some change.
Right.
So
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your story with me.
Thank you for having me. I'm part. It's so fun that I love podcasts now, and now I'm part of one.
You're part of a podcast.
Am I podcast famous?
You are podcast famous.
Sweet.